Thanks for stopping by at Twisted Art Designs. Today I'm working in my recipe book. This is a binder style recipe book that I'm making mixed media cards to put in it. Each one is different with sayings and things, and when it's all done I'll show a flip through. But today I created this cute page using Dina Wakley Collage Collectives to make these adorable flowers for my little saying, and I enjoyed it so much I thought I would do a video and show you how I created this page. So let's get started and have some fun. I like to start with layers, so the first layer is going to be acrylic paint in a couple of different colors, and I apply it using a baby wipe. So I just put the paint down on the pages and spread it around with the baby wipe and let it dry. And I'm not very precise about this. I do it kind of sketchy and kind of not solid because I want it to be interesting to look at. Next, I use Caran d'Ache Neocolor 2 crayons in 3 different colors, and I randomly color in spots. Now this is after I've let the acrylic paint completely dry. So on the dry page, I'm going to color with my Neocolor 2, and I'm going in different directions, and I'm just being random and sketchy again. Just adding that color to the page and using 3 different colors. I'm using a dark blue, and a light teal, and then another color of blue, that periwinkle blue. Now I take matte gel medium, and this is what I'm going to use to spread out that Neocolor 2. If you've ever tried this, this is a really fun technique. You just take your brush and dip it into your matte gel medium, and you spread out the Neocolor 2. And what this does, Neocolor is activated by water. You could use water to spread it out, but the reason I'm using matte gel medium is once it dries completely, that color is not going to move anywhere. So if you do this, you can blend those colors into each other and get a really interesting and fun background that when it dries, it's going to stay put. So it won't be reactivated again if you use other things over the top of it. So it's a really fun technique. I like the way that it looks. It's very pastel, and it's fun to go through it and blend it out with your brush. Next, I'm using this as a stencil. This is the, I don't know what it's called. It's the stuff that sequins is punched out of, and you can buy it in bolts, like at Christmas time for making wreaths and things in any craft store. But I like to use it for circles, or you can use a circle stencil. I'm using a cosmetic sponge and acrylic paint and just applying it. Next, I'm using a Tim Holtz stencil, and the same thing, a cosmetic sponge and a different color of paint. This time I'm using a green, and I'm just layering my background. And you don't have to follow mine exactly. You don't have to use exactly what I use. This is just showing you techniques. So it's just giving you some food for thought and some ideas of things to try. These backgrounds are just layers upon layers. You're just adding and building up your layers, and you want to be sure and let it dry in between each thing that you do. Next, I'm taking 3 different sizes of punches and a page of book text, and I'm going to punch out 3 different sizes of circles, 3 or 4 of each size. And I'm not worrying about what the text says. You can be specific about that, but I wasn't. So I'm just going to punch out all my circles, and those are going to be the centers of my flowers. Now I apply my circles with matte gel medium, and I arranged them how I'm going to want those flowers to be, and I'm just sticking them down with a little matte gel medium under them and on top of them, adhering each one of the circles to the page. And these are your flower centers. So you kind of want to lay it out and get an idea of where you want the flowers to be. Then I let this dry. Next, I'm coming in with a black Stabilo All pencil, and I'm going to draw circles around each one very loosely. You just kind of want to use your hand and just make some random wonky circles around each one of your punched out pieces of paper. And then I'm coming back in and I'm drawing the stems of the flowers. So each one obviously has a stem down to the bottom of the page. And then I'm going to come back in and I'm going to start drawing leaves and swirls. So I'm just going to go around each one and draw some leaves. I didn't choose to put a lot of leaves. I just did a couple of really random leaves and then little swirly things coming off of them. But I didn't want a bunch of leaves. I didn't want it to look too busy. So 1 or 2 leaves per flower is all they got. Next, I'm taking a Derwent Inktense pencil, and I'm going into the leaves, and I'm using a water brush, and I'm adding that green. I'm tipping it right off the lead of the pencil. Instead of coloring it, I'm picking up the color with my water brush and then applying it. And I'm being very, very careful not to touch that outside edges that I've drawn, because if you've used Stabilo before, you know that water activates it, and I want that to stay put for right now. That'll come later down the road. So I'm staying right into the center part and just using that Derwent Inktense. You could do this with Neocolor too. The reason I chose Derwent Inktense is because once it dries, it doesn't move. So I chose my art supplies carefully in doing this particular page. I want that green to stay put when I do go around the leaves and I spread out that Stabilo. So for now, I'm just taking that bright green and adding a pop of green to each one of these leaves as carefully as I can get it in there. Derwent Inktense it's ink inside of the lead of the pencil, and so it's very vibrant, and I wanted these leaves to pop and be very bright. And it looks pretty. I like how it blends out, and I like how vibrant they are on the page. So far, so good. Now I'm taking a yellow color. This one is called Sherbert Lemon. And I'm going back over just a couple little spots just to make those leaves just have a little more brightness and a little more dimension. So just adding a little pop of Sherbert Lemon. Now I'm taking a blue Inktense and I'm adding a blue shadow along the stems of the flowers and blending it out with a water brush. So I'm just putting it down right onto the page with the pencil and then going back over it with my water brush to blend it out. And this is just to add some fun and some interest and making kind of sort of a blue cast shadow. Now I'm taking the green, a bright green, and I'm doing the same thing on the other side, on the opposite side of the flowers. And this is because I want a pop of color, and Inktense is going to give you that bright pop of color. So I color with it on the page and I spread it out with some water from my water brush, and so that's a really bright green. I'll have the list of colors that I used in the description box below and all the supplies that I've used on this page. So if you're interested in just purchasing maybe in open stock, you want to look for those specific Inktense pencils, you can do that, or if you just want to know what colors I chose to use. So see how just adding the blue on one side and the green on the other, it's just making those flower stems just pop. It's just adding some really fun interest to the page. I love color. Next, I'm taking the book that is called Collage Collectives by Dina Wakley, and it's by Ranger, and it is just a book that has all the different drawings and colors and things. It's just papers of Dina Wakley's art. And I'm looking for something bright, and I chose this one. And this is what I'm going to cut all my petals to my flowers out of. So I'm just taking my scissors and I'm randomly cutting out petal shapes. They're not all the same size. I don't want them to be. I just start cutting, and I'm not worrying about having a pattern, and I'm not worried about size. I'm just doing petal shapes over and over again until I have almost that whole little piece there completely cut out of petals. So these are what I'm going to put down on my flowers. And her paper designs make such beautiful petals on these flowers. So next I'm going to lay those petals out that I've cut out from the Dina Wakley Collage Collective papers. And I'm going to just place them all in place. And I don't glue anything down until I have them all placed where I want them. Because sometimes I move them around, I change spots, I decide on different colors. And so I want to get them right where I want them before I glue them down. Next I use art glitter glue. And I just put art glitter glue on the back of each one and glue it into place. Next I'm going to go back and take my Stabilo pencil and I'm going to go back over all my lines. So I'm going to add some more Stabilo to the stems, to the swirls, around the leaves. I just want to darken up all the areas that were drawn originally in Stabilo, because you're going to want those to be really nice and black. Next I take a Posca pen with a fine point and I go around each one of the petals with black Posca pen. So I'm just tracing the shape of the paper and drawing around each petal. And that's the only thing that I do outline is just the petals of the flower. And this is how they look when they're outlined. It makes them really stand out. Next I take my water brush, and now is when the fun starts, and I start to blend out that black Stabilo. So I'm going to go over all those lines with a water brush and just spread out that Stabilo. It makes it shadowed, it makes it nice and dark, and it just comes to life. This is my favorite part of doing this page. So I just take that water brush and go around each petal and each stem and each swirl and blend it out. The water activates the Stabilo and it makes it just nice and dark, so you get a really nice dark, stem. Isn't that pretty? I just love that. I think it's really fun. It's fun to do too. And I especially love doing the swirls. Next I take it and I go around each center circle, and I'm using my hand really loose, not being too specific, and I go around each center. So where all that black Stabilo is, it's going to spread it out and make random sketchy circles around each of the book text centers of the flowers. The page is starting to come to life. I love it. This was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it, and I hope you guys give it a try, because It's not a time-consuming page. It's pretty quick and easy, but boy, the results are just way too fun. So I just am making sure that I'm going back over all those stems. And now what I'm going to do is take a charcoal pencil and I'm going to add a shadow around some of the leaves, some of the petals of the flowers. And what I'm using to blend it out with is I've taken a paintbrush, an old paintbrush, and I've cut it off so it's only just got a really short little stubby bristles, and it works great as a little scrubber for blending out charcoal pencil. And I'm not doing it around every single spot. I'm just going to randomly do it here and there where it looks best. You could go around every petal if you want to. It doesn't matter. It's personal preference. But I just think that shadow with charcoal looks really pretty. It's soft and it blends out really nicely, and it just looks like a really pretty shadow. Next, I'm going to take a Posca pen and in white, and I'm going to go around each flower center with white dots. This just kind of makes it stand out, makes it artsy. It makes it look cute and artsy. Now I take my big chunky Posca. I have a Posca pen that has a chunky tip to it, and it makes a really easy black, very, very black border. I use this for borders because it just, to me, makes the darkest, deepest, blackest border, and I love to border my pages. This is a Posca pen is PC8K. It's an 8mm chisel tip, and that's what I use for making my big black borders like this. So I'm going to go around the whole outside edge and make a black border. Final step, I take another Posca pen with a fine point, and I just add some whimsical little dots here, there, and everywhere. To me, that just adds a lot of whimsy to it. See how that looks? So that's how I created this page, and I hope you enjoyed it, and maybe it inspired you to try some different art supplies or try maybe a new technique you haven't tried yet on your art journal pages and create this fun page of colorful flowers. Thanks for stopping by, and go make art, because art soothes the heart.